Hello students, this is Amrita Lakshmi, Head of the Department and Associate Professor of Botany, Government First Grade College, Kyapuram, Bangalore. This is my fifth video. Today in the subject Botany, let us discuss plant movements which 3rd BSc Botany students have in their syllabus. So plant movements. Now plant movements are generally noticed as a response to a particular stimulus, and the stimulus can be either external or internal. External stimuli can be identified while internal stimuli are difficult to identify. Stimuli are of various kinds. The response by the plant also varies here. So coming to the plant movements. So these plant movements are of two types. So one is hygroscopic and the second one is vital. So first coming to hygroscopic, let us see hygroscopic movement now. Now these hygroscopic movement is the response of the cell wall to the moisture content of the atmosphere. So in the sporophytes of all bryophytes, so these elaters or spores which are found here, or the peristomial teeth, what you can find in this diagram. Okay, so this is the sporophyte of Finaria. So here you find the peristomial teeth. So these peristomial teeth or these spores and elaters in bryophytes and also in pteridophytes, etc., we find this kind of movement. Now these movements, these hygroscopic movements, they help in the dehiscence of the sporangium. So they help in the dehiscence of the sporangium and the dispersal of the spores and elaters. So coming to, that was hygroscopic movement. Okay. Now coming to the second category, vital movements. So these vital movements are classified into two types. One is movement of locomotion. The next one is movement of curvature. Movement of curvature. So coming to movement of locomotion. Now here, this type of movement is seen in lower plants. Here the entire plant moves from one place to the other place. Okay, so that is movement of locomotion. Now here we find this movement of locomotion to be of two types. It could be either autonomous or paratonic. So first let us consider the autonomous kind of movements. Now these autonomous kind of movements, they are spontaneous. The stimuli are internally generated in the plant. The stimuli are not external. They are internally generated. Under that we have four types. So let us see all these four types. So the first type under this is the ciliary movements. So here the cilia or the flagella. The cilia or the flagella in the members of order Volvocalis. That is, we find this in Chlamydomonas and also in Volvox. So these have many flagella, and these also show this kind of movement, ciliary movement. So the entire plant body moves, and this kind of movement is also seen in zoospores, because these zoospores also have flagella, and the movement, ciliary movement is seen even in zoospores. So this is about ciliary movement seen in these algae and the zoospores. Now the second type is amoeboid movements. So here also whole plant body moves. This is seen in a fungus, saprolegnia. It's a kind of slime mold. So it's saprolegnia, and this kind of amoeboid movement is brought about with the extension of the protoplasm into pseudopodia. So this protoplasm produces a kind of pseudopodia, and these slime molds, one example saprolegnia, they move. Now the next type of movement is gliding or excretory movements. Now here diatoms, desmids, and some of the algae like oscillatoria, they show this kind of movement. So this kind of movement is due to the excretion of the mucilage through the cell walls, excretion of the mucilage through the cell walls. So in diatoms, in all these, the mucilage is exuded through the pores of the cell wall and they move. And oscillatoria, it shows a kind of gliding movement like the oscillations what we find in the pendulum of clocks. So next one is cyclosis. Now this is not locomotion exactly, as there is only internal movement of the organelles within a cell. So the complete plant body doesn't move here. This is seen in some of the hydrophytes like Elodia, Hydrilla, etc. Now in this type we have two types. Now in Elodia, so this is the leaf of Elodia, and here we can find the cells. Okay, all these are cells in Elodia leaf. Here in each cell there is a central large vacuole. Surrounding that vacuole, the protoplasm moves in one direction. It is unidirectional, and this movement is known as rotatory movement. So that is one kind of cyclosis movement. The second type of movement is called circulatory movement. This is seen in the staminal hairs of Tradescantia. Here there are many vacuoles, and surrounding all those small vacuoles, the cytoplasm will move. So this kind of movement is circulatory movement, and in Elodia we find rotatory movement. Both come under cyclosis. Okay. Next, we are going to what all we studied till now is autonomous movement. So now coming to paratonic movements. So paratonic movements are seen due to external stimuli. So due to external stimuli like light, temperature, chemicals, etc. So under that we have these types. So the first type is phototaxis. So photo means light. So the phenomenon of light induced movement of locomotion is known as phototaxis. So again, these algae, some of the algae like Chlamydomonas, they are photosensitive in nature. That is, they have stigma. So they have a photosynthetic spot known as stigma. It is photosensitive in nature, and when light falls on them, the cells, the entire cell can move towards light or it can move away from light. So this is phototaxis. The second type of movement is chemotaxis. So this type of movement is seen in gametes. So this type of movement is due to the influence of chemicals. So gametes of algae, fungi, bryophytes, these are chemotactic in nature. Now, archegonia of bryophytes. So these archegonia of bryophytes also secrete some kind of mucilage which attracts the anthrozoids. So the anthrozoids move towards archegonia and they enter the neck of the archegonia. This is also due to this kind of movement, that is chemotaxis. The next kind of movement is thermotaxis. So this is the locomotion by the influence of temperature. So gametes and also zoospores. So these are the gametes and these are the zoospores. So these gametes and zoospores of algae and fungi, they show thermotactic movements. So depending on the intensity of the temperature, it can be either positively thermotactic or negatively thermotactic. So next, just now what we finished was movement of locomotion. So movement of locomotion, the complete plant body moves, seen in lower plants. So it can be either due to autonomous, I said, that is due to internal stimuli. We saw all these four types, or it could be due to external stimuli. We saw these three types. So the complete movement of locomotion is over now. Next, coming to the movements of curvature. So here, movements of curvature, here the plant body does not move. It does not move at all. There is no locomotion as such. So this is again of two types. It could be growth movements or variation movements. So coming to the first one, growth movements. Now due to growth, there is some kind of curvature. So the plant body grows and sure there is some kind of curvature seen. So these growth movements are also of two types, autonomous, paratonic. Coming to the first one, autonomous. So autonomous means I have explained this earlier. So here we have seen autonomous and paratonic. So again we are studying autonomous in under growth movements. Autonomous means the stimuli is internal. So due to internal stimulus, there is some kind of growth movements. So the first one under that is nastic type. So we find nastic movements. So these petals, sepals in the flowers, they show this kind of nastic movements. Now, when the cell divisions are more on the upper side of these petals, when they are more on the upper side, the organ bends down. This is called epinasty. That is, the flower opens. If the lower surface has more growth, then the organs bend up, hyponasty. So this is the for nastic movements. It is the opening of the floral bud or the closing of the floral bud. We can find that is found in the flowers. So hyponasty takes place when the flower buds close, and epinasty takes place when the flower buds open. So the next type of movement is nutational movement. So this is seen in the climbing organs of the plants like tendrils. So these tendrils, in tendrils, the growing region is shifted in a circular or a spiral fashion. So it is shifted in a circular or spiral fashion, and coiling is brought about. So we can find the coiling of the tendrils, and this helps the tendril or twining stem to twine around the support. So this is nutational movement. So next we are going to study paratonic growth movements, and here paratonic growth movements, I've told you what it is already. So that is, the stimulus induced is from the external sources like light, temperature, etc. So under that, first one is phototropism. So photo means light, phototropism. So here growing organs like shoots, roots, etc., they respond to the influence of light. The shoots are always positively phototropic and the roots will be negatively phototropic. So shoots are positively geotropic, so they move towards light, and roots are negative. Sorry, shoots are positively phototropic, so they move towards light, and roots are negatively phototropic, so they move away from light. So in these shoots, when a beam of light falls on the stem, the front side of it gets illuminated, and the region away from the lights gets shaded. So there is more growth in the shaded area than in the lighted area, and this brings about this type of curvature. So shaded area has more auxin and the lighted area has less auxin. So because shaded area has more auxin, there is more growth, and lighted area has less auxin, so there is less growth, and we see this kind of bending. So that is phototropism. So the next one is geotropism. So here the curvature is induced by the gravity, and here the shoots are negatively geotropic and the roots are positively geotropic. So you can see here, so this is the potted plant, the erect potted plant. So the roots are positively geotropic, and the potted plant, after it falls also, after a few days you can see the roots again becoming positively geotropic. So the roots are positively geotropic here. So this is the next kind of movement is hydrotropism. So hydro means water. So the curvature towards the source of water is known as hydrotropism, and here the roots are positively hydrotropic. So you can see here they're positively hydrotropic. So all these are germinating seeds. So the seeds have germinated. So this is the moist sawdust is there, and the seed has germinated into a seedling, and the roots have come out. So roots, after coming out, here there is no water, and once again they bend back towards the source of water. So they are showing hydrotropism here. So the next kind of next type is chemotropism. So chemotropism is the curvature towards the source of chemical substances. So this is seen in pollen tube. So the pollen tube on the stigma. So the pollen tube is here on the stigma. The pollen tube growth on the stigma towards the style and towards the embryo sac is said to be chemotropic. Because of those chemicals which are secreted, the pollen tube can move towards the style and towards the embryo sac. So next is thigmotropism. So this is the movement is seen by touch or by contact. So it is due to touch or some contact stimulus. So this is seen in climbers, example passiflora. So it's seen in climbers. So here the climber, the complete plant, twines around any solid structure. So when it comes in contact with some solid structures or some support, it twines around it and it starts growing. There is less growth on the side where it comes in contact with the support, and the side which is away from it will have more growth. So because of this, there is coiling in these plants. So we just under movement of curvature, we completed these growth movements wherein we saw the autonomous kind of movement two types, and paratonic, that is due to external forces. We found these three types of movements. Next, going to variation movements. So variation movements, these are not associated with growth at all. They are not associated with growth, and this is also of two types, autonomous and paratonic. So coming to autonomous movement here, autonomous, it is internal, inbuilt. So under this we have gyration. So this is gyration. So this we find in Desmodium gyrans. So this is a typical example for this type of movement. So Desmodium gyration is commonly called Indian telegraphic tree. So Indian telegraphic plant. So this plant has trifoliate leaves. So the three leaflets you can find here. So it has trifoliately compound leaf. Of the three leaflets, let us see in this diagram, of the three leaflets, the central leaflet is fixed, while the two lateral two leaflets, they move up and down. They move up and down, making an angle of 180 degrees. So this is something like a dancing or a gyration movement. Hence the plant is known as Desmodium gyrans. The species is called gyrans. So you can find here the dancing or the gyration movement of the two lateral leaflets, and this leaflet is a fixed one. So now we are starting with paratonic movements. So paratonic movements, it is due to external forces like light, temperature, etc. So under this, first one we are going to study nictinastic movements. So here some nictinastic movements, some of the plant organs like flowers, leaves, etc. They assume a particular posture in daylight, and also the posture changes during night. So we find this in sunflower. So in sunflower, this nictinastic movement is known as photonasty, because sunflower it changes its position during the flower changes its position during night and also during daytime. So this is known as photonastic, because it is the movement is due to the light. And in tulips and also in crocus sativus, that is saffron, there is thermonastic movements. The movement of these flowers is due to the temperature. Next, seismonastic movements. So here seismos means some kind of tremor. So this is due to some kind of touch. Best example is Mimosa pudica. So commonly called touch me not plant. So this plant has bipinnately compound leaf. So it has bipinnately compound leaf, as you can find here. And when these leaflets, now this is the open leaflets, the leaflets are all open. When these leaflets are touched, they close or they drop down. After some time, when the stimulus wears out, they open up once again. So the same thing you can find here. So these still the leaflets are open here, and here due to touch the leaflets are closed. So this is some kind of tremor takes place in the plant body. So this kind of tremor, they say it is due to the turgidity in the cells of the pulvinus. So there is some kind of tremor which is built, and there is loss of turgidity in the cells, and because of that these leaves show this kind of movement which is known as seismonastic movement. Lastly, chemonastic movement. So this kind of movement is due to some kind of chemical. So it is a chemical stimulus. This we find in many of the insectivorous plants. So this Drosera, which is commonly called sundew plant, this we are finding here. Here the tentacles, as you can see here, there's one insect which is stuck here, and these tentacles, they bend over the body of the insect and they trap the insect. And in the other plant, another insectivorous plants, which is known as Diania, commonly called Venus flytrap. Here also the two lobes of the leaf, they close. So when any insect comes and sits here, they close upon the insect. So there's an open one, and here the two lobes have closed. In all these, the nitrogenous matter in the insect body is the stimulus. So hence they close. And the enzymes also play a significant role for the movements here. So these are the different types of movements. So I acknowledge the different sites for these beautiful photographs. So just to brush up, let us see the flow chart once again. So plant movements, I said it could be hygroscopic or vital. Hygroscopic due to the water content in the atmosphere. The vital movement could be due to is of two types, due to locomotion or movement of curvature. So due to locomotion, here in the movement of locomotion, we can find it to be of two types, autonomous and paratonic. Autonomous due to the internal stimuli, we find these four types. Paratonic due to external forces, we find these three types. And movement of curvature, no growth here, only the plant body shows curvature. It's of two types, growth movements, variation movements. Growth movements due to the growth which takes place in the plant body, again of two types, autonomous. Under that we have these two types. Paratonic due to external forces, we have these five types. Variation movements, due to some kind of variation. There is no growth here, due to some kind of variation it happens. So autonomous, we have one type, and paratonic, due to external, we have these three types. Thank you.